meet Shields. Today's episode really needs no introduction. It's your boy Ghostface the Goat back on the scene. You know him, you love him, you might even have the costume. I mean, what more can I say? But every Ghostface has a little something extra that makes them special. And this one might actually be the biggest doofus ever to put on a mask. Plus, we got the legendary Sidney Prescott back in action, and maybe even a surprise visit from our boy Stu Macher. I don't know, because today we're here to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat Ghostface in Scream 7. Alright, we open one ordinary night in Woodsboro, back where it all started. That's where we find this dude Scott and his girlfriend Madison pulling up at Stu Macher's old crib. You see, Scott's a huge fan of the Stab franchise, so they're staying overnight as part of some fan service or whatever. But that's about to be their biggest mistake. They get a cringy phone call from Ghostface that's really just the host reminding them to leave a 5-star review, and Scott can tell that Madison is already getting bored. So he decides to prank her with his own Ghostface costume, as one does. But that's when he notices something weird about this Ghostface animatronic that's posted up in the corner. And suddenly, you guessed it, the damn thing comes to life and stabs my boy straight in the head. Madison picks up a leg and chucks it at him as a distraction and then books it straight for the front door, but Ghostface cuts her off and starts pulling her back down as she turns and runs for the stairs. Oh, she gets away and whacks him over the head with this random light fixture, but he catches up again and pins her against the wall. So Madison plants her foot and pushes him off, sending him tumbling over the railing as she grabs the chandelier. But as she's trying to pull herself back up, she finally loses her grip, and Ghostface spins around and impales her as she falls straight on the knife. And then he covers the whole place in gas and walks away as the entire house goes up in flames, making 2 down with 11 more to go. Damn, son, talk about a fire intro. I guess these two probably should have read the fine print before they signed up for the real Ghostface experience. But here's why I would do things differently, because honestly, I'd have to be a total dummy to even put myself in this situation. Like, I don't know what's wrong with some people that makes them want to stay at these types of houses, and if that's you, I'm sorry, but to me, it's just nuts. Because of all the places I could spend the night, why would I choose a house that literally has multiple bodies? I mean, that just sounds like a terrible idea. And it doesn't help that the place had terrible security either. Like, come on, 7822 for the door code. That's literally spelling stab. That's like using password as your password and being surprised when somebody figures it out. Like, nah, you're just dumb. But even after Ghostface caught her boy lacking, Madison could have easily jumped in and done something instead of just watching him get clapped. Like, as scary as this situation would be, we all know Ghostface is just a regular guy under that mask, so I would just grab a fire poker and clobber him with it as soon as he got close. Worst part is, she was actually destroying him in the 1v1 until the very end there, but I still see 2 ways out of this. Like, plan A, I swing right over him and hit the Assassin's Creed move straight out the door. Or plan B, I drop down while he's stunned, hit him with a Mario ground pound straight through the floor, and then run off while he's KO'd. But if Madison didn't fumble at the very end, surviving this should have been a piece of cake. Now, a few days later, we catch up with this girl, Tatum, a high school kid from small town Indiana. She's chilling in her room when her boyfriend Ben comes sneaking in through the window. Seems familiar, but he's only been there a couple seconds when Tatum's mom barges in. And what do you know? It's Sidney freaking Prescott. Like, what up, Sid? She kicks my boy out because, you know, boundaries and all that. But Tatum gets all mad and calls her mom a hypocrite. You see, they haven't been seeing eye to eye lately because Tatum keeps trying to ask her about her past, but Sidney just wants to forget about it and move on. But she's also low-key paranoid after everything she's been through, and it's making Tatum feel like she's not allowed to grow up. Now, you're probably wondering how we ended up here. Well, Sidney's going by Sidney Evans these days, and after a few too many run-ins with old Ghostface, she's moved to Indiana, married this guy named Mark, who happens to be the local police chief, had a couple kids, finally settled down, and she's been trying to live, you know, the quiet life ever since. But pretty soon, that's all coming to an end. Like literally the next morning, Sidney heads down to her coffee shop downtown, where she bumps into the neighbor, kid Lucas, and his mom, Jessica. Now, this kid has got some kind of weird obsession with Ghostface, so he always wants to chat Sidney up about it anytime he gets the chance. But his mom comes along and tells him to get lost. Speaking of townies, this dude Carl comes up to the counter absolutely grilling her down, but she shrugs it off and goes to chat with Jessica about some mom stuff.
Like she's kind of looking for some advice on how to talk to Tatum about her past, while also still trying to keep her safe. But Jessica thinks that too much sheltering is just gonna make it worse. Meanwhile, at the high school, we find the girls in the middle of a rehearsal for a big school musical. Tatum's playing the dog, so she's not exactly the most important part, and when it's her time to shine, she just eats right off the stairs, causing this whole big distraction that sends her best friend Hannah crashing into the wall. She tries taking more responsibility for it, but the teacher just starts dragging her and saying she needs to bring more passion. And as if that wasn't bad enough, Bro turns around and brings her mom into it, talking about some "I thought you'd be tougher." Like, man, that's a wild thing for a teacher to say. But anyway, after getting publicly embarrassed by her teacher, Tatum and Ben head backstage to put away her costume. Like, they talk about their relationship for a minute, and we get this sweet little moment where Ben tries making her feel better. But little do they know, disaster is about to strike.
Alright, I hate to say it, but Tatum's drama teacher actually had a point. Sid just wants to keep her kids safe, but it's having the opposite effect. Because if she can't even handle playing Fluffy the freaking dog, then what's she gonna do when Ghostface shows up and tries to put her on a t-shirt, huh? And notice I said when, not if, because anybody with a higher IQ than a goldfish could tell you that it's only a matter of time. I mean, there have been, 15 Ghostfaces since it all started? At that rate, you pretty much got one of these guys popping up every 2 years. So Sydney's whole leave it in the past plan ain't gonna work. Sorry, but that's just the truth. And that's why instead of sheltering Tatum, she needs to be getting this kid ready. And if I was Sydney, right, then as soon as Tatum was old enough, the first thing I'm doing is putting her in every self-defense class known to man. I'm talking boxing, karate, jiu-jitsu, Rex Kwon Do from Napoleon Dynamite, competitive dodgeball, like whatever it takes to get her in peak physical condition. Obviously, we gotta make sure she's nice with the blicky too, and for every birthday or Christmas, she's getting katanas, nunchucks, chainsaws, anything that she needs to protect herself. But it's not just about physical training either. She's also got to be mentally prepared for this too. So from day one, I'm gonna have her studying past attacks and learning all the classic patterns while also taking first aid classes and practicing how to react in stressful situations. So by the time we even got to this age, she would be moving with the mental strength and combat abilities of prime Batman, and then Ghostface is going to be scared of her. But right now, the best thing Sydney can do is start being more honest with Tatum, and Tatum should probably pick up a taser just in case. Because like I said, it's only a matter of time before Ghostface strikes again.
Alright, so back at the coffee shop, Sydney's doing some stuff in her office when she gets a phone call from someone doing the Ghostface voice. But she's been dealing with this stuff for years, so at first she thinks it's just a prank, but that's when Bro rings her up on FaceTime and holy smokes, it's frickin' Stu Macher. Ain't no motherfucking way. She's still pretty sure that it's a bunch of baloney, but then this dude just turns the camera around to show that he's right outside Tatum's high school. And that's all that Sid needs to hear before she jumps into action, so she grabs her keys, hops into Whippo, and starts speeding over there. She calls Mark to tell him what happened. So he tells every cop in town to get over to the school, but it's not actually Tatum who has to worry. Hannah is her best friend, and she's on stage practicing with this dude Aaron when my boy hears some kind of weird noises coming from somewhere behind him. And the next thing that Hannah knows, the guy randomly goes quiet, leaving her just hanging around in midair. She's starting to get a little pissed when somebody kills the lights and then turns on a spotlight pointed straight at her. And then suddenly, yoink, they lift her all the way up to the ceiling and let her drop straight back to the floor. There's nothing she can do as whoever's back there sends her flying into the wall, causing her leg to get stuck on the porch, just like before. But that's when Ghostface finally walks out, like, surprise, motherfucker. And as Hannah is swinging back and forth, Bro whips out his knife and starts chopping her up like a piñata, until finally he holds the knife straight up and slices open her gutty wuds. That's when Sydney shows up and starts licking shots off the minute she sees him, but he gets away. And as she chases him backstage, she finds that dude Aaron lying there down the ground, making 4 down with 9 more to go. But the good news is Tatum is safe, at least for now. Now, after the attack, the cops show up and start questioning the witnesses, but Sydney ain't trusting a single soul. As far as she knows, any of these people could be a suspect, and that's when it hits her. Ben's going to college for computer science, so maybe he faked the call pretending to be Stu. But Mark says that pretty much anybody could do that these days, so it's not exactly enough evidence to lock him up. Still, Sid is not taking any chances. So when it's time to leave, she grabs Tatum and tells Ben to kick rocks. Tatum is obviously convinced it's not Ben, but Sydney ain't so sure, and it turns into another big fight about Sid being too paranoid. But she tells Tatum to drop it, and they all head home.
Alright, it's the perfect time to start with Marvel Strike Force. It's celebrating its 8th anniversary, and to tell you I'm excited would be the understatement of the century. Y'all, it is going down. And by that we mean this event is live, baby! So if you've been living under a rock, let me break it down for you. Marvel Strike Force is a free mobile squad RPG that allows you to fight as your favorite heroes and villains. You'll unlock and level up your favorite characters from the Marvel Universe across some dope game modes like campaigns, arena battles, and a blitz mode to unlock sick gear and other resources. Now, I love Strike Force, and this current live event, it's been challenging me in ways that I didn't even know was possible. If you haven't played yet, it's a great time to jump in. Deadpool is taking over the MSF 8th anniversary live event, and players can unlock a few best buds by using the promo code MSF8. With that code, they'll unlock Deadpool, Gwenpool, She-Hulk, and Squirrel Girl for free, plus 1 million in gold and 100 level 3 training modules. And if you keep playing, you can unlock even more best buds like Wolverine, Spider-Man, Captain America, and Daken. But speaking of the game modes, there's a brand new Alliance mode that allows you to join forces with your friends or other players. You'll compete in raids and Alliance wars to earn rewards. You know, my favorite thing is the team building. Certain characters will boost the effectiveness of others, so it's key to build the best team possible. I'm a big fan of the Mighty Avengers, but I dabble in other teams. There's just so much to explore. You guys, I'm not even kidding. I love this game so much. You know, when I'm not in the studio, I'm grinding away in Marvel Strike Force. I think my favorite campaign up until now has been the comic conflict, but it pales in comparison to how much fun earning all the characters and rewards in the MSF 8th anniversary event has been. And did I mention this event is live? And remember when I mentioned alliances earlier? Well, I'm a part of the Best Buds Alliance with these other great creators. We can all battle together to win these amazing rewards, and the best part is, all of them are going to be covering this event, so go check out their latest videos as well. To get in on the MSF 8th anniversary action, download the game now by scanning the QR code or clicking the link in the description. Thanks again to Marvel Strike Force for sponsoring today's video. Remember to go check out the MSF 8th anniversary event. You can download the game via the link below. And now, back to the show. Well, I guess this means Hannah just got cut from the cast. Now, I don't know what she did to deserve this besides being friends with the wrong person, but what I do know is this girl easily could have survived here. Now, to be completely fair, Hannah probably didn't wake up this morning expecting Ghostface to run her fade. But that brings me to our first problem, because after finding out Ghostface was literally outside her school, why the hell didn't Sid just call Tatum and warn her? I mean, seriously, it's not like she doesn't have a phone. And I get that Sid didn't want her to panic or whatever, but when you actually think about it, that doesn't make any sense, because what's safer? Not trying to warn her or giving her a heads up so she can get the f out of there? Obviously, warning her is the better choice. And if they at least had a head start, then Hannah and the dude Aaron could have probably survived. But even though Sid pretty much set her up to get smoked, if it was Hannah, I still think that I could have survived this, because here's what I noticed, right? Earlier, we saw them take off that harness, and all it took was unlocking those 2 little clips. So as soon as I realized something was wrong, I would have started unclipping them myself and then just dropped down from the floor and bingo, I'm gone. Now, hopefully I'd be able to get down before Ghostface started swinging me around, but if not, I would just kick him in the face when he gets close, or grab the wall and pull the whole set down right on top of him, and then I would be good. Easy money. So the good news is this version of Ghostface must not be too smart, because he could have easily gotten the drop on Tatum right there in the dressing room. And I know it's probably part of some big elaborate plan, but honestly, any plan that lets your main target get away is just dumb. So now that Tatum's back with her family, all she has to do is stick with Sydney at all times and just post up somewhere safe until the cops finally catch this dude. And even if he comes back, they can just 2v1 him and call it a day. But they need to start moving smarter, or else Tatum's just gonna end up just like the last one.
Back at the crib, the cops search the whole place looking for any signs of trouble, and after making sure that everything is locked up tight, they head out to check the rest of the neighborhood. Mark tells the girls to grab their things and get ready to leave, but there was one place the police forgot to check: the attic. Sid is annoyed to find out that Tatum got rid of her go bag, but Tatum is all mad that Sid didn't warn her Ghostface was coming, which is actually a pretty valid point, and now she wants to get revenge for her friend Hannah. They're so busy arguing that Sid completely accidentally misses Ghostface standing 2 feet behind her. And they still have no idea he's in the house until Sid goes to check on Mark. But that's when they notice someone has turned off the lights. And they both go rushing out, worried Tatum could be outside. Well, sure enough, out steps Ghostface holding up a knife to her neck. And her dad's only choice is to put down the strap. Ghostface steps over and kicks it away, and then starts monitoring for Sid and Mark to split it up. But as soon as he takes the knife off Tatum's throat, Mark yells, "Drop!" and kicks Ghostface back as Tatum dives for safety. Mark runs in and starts piecing him up with his bare hands, and they both start fighting over the blammer, sending random shots flying all over the place. Ghostface ends up taking him down and goes back for the knife, but then Sid comes running over, kicks the knife to her husband, and starts giving Ghostface the hands just like back in the day. Ghostface shoves her off as Mark gets up and grabs the knife, but he dodges Mark's swing and ends up tossing him down the stairs where he gets knocked to the floor. Then Ghostface grabs the knife and starts going after the girls again, but Sid runs into the closet and opens a freaking secret door and rocks Ghostface with a baseball bat before slamming it shut. It looks like Sid used some of that book money to build a whole ass panic room, but they haven't been there 2 seconds when she decides to go back for Mark. Well, it takes Ghostface approximately 1 second to figure out they left, and that's when he hears them freaking bumping around inside the walls. So he starts tapping with his knife until suddenly he starts stabbing straight through the wall. He keeps cutting them off no matter which way they go until finally Sid takes her baseball bat and bends the knife so it gets stuck on a stud. So he just turns around and grabs a fire poker instead, and almost skewers Sid before they're able to get away. Now realizing he's lost them, Ghostface decides to go back for Mark, but he's already gone, and as Ghostface stands there looking for him, Mark comes flying out and tackles him into the yard. The girls come running along just as Mark's getting his ass whooped, so Sydney grabs a damn birdhouse and freaking clobbers him straight in the back, giving Mark a chance to push him into the street, where all of a sudden he gets completely obliterated by a speeding SUV. Oh, but this just ain't any SUV, it's Gail freaking Weathers and her interns Mindy and Chad. They go over to give Sid a hug, and now it's time to figure out who's under the mask, but when they pull it off, it's just that random dude Carl from the coffee shop earlier. What the hell? That makes 5 down with 8 more to go.
Man, I guess this dude Carl must have really hated that coffee. Seriously though, Broski almost soloed his entire family until Gale pulled up and sent him to the Shadow Realm, which is actually crazy when you realize how many chances they had to avoid this. Like right off the bat, how are you gonna have the cops search the entire house and yet nobody checks the freaking attic? Like what, is my safety a joke to you? Imagine these dudes looking at me with a straight face and saying, "All right, sir, we've swept every square inch of the house except the attic." Like, no. Get up there and search that immediately, twin, because otherwise, what's the damn point? So yeah, that would be strike 1 on the cops, but the apple must not fall far from the tree with the Evans, because tell me why, when they were both perfectly safe inside of the state-of-the-art panic room, these two actually made the brain-dead decision to leave it. Like, genuine question here, how dumb can you be? Sydney going, I might understand, but Tatum, literally all she had to do was sit there and wait for the cops to show up, and there's no way Ghostface could have gotten her, so if I was Sid, even if she was begging me to come with, I would just close the door and leave her there, and that's that. Problem solved. But just because Carl's out of the picture doesn't mean they're safe, because if there's one thing we know about Ghostface, it's that he never works alone. So the question is, how are they gonna figure out who else was involved here? Well, the one thing Sydney knows for sure is that Carl was at her coffee shop earlier that day. So if it was me, the first thing I would do is go back and check the security cameras, looking for anyone Carl might have talked to or anyone who happened to be around there at the same time. And since Mark's the police chief, they should be able to pull the footage from other businesses or traffic cams and see what else this dude was up to. Like if anybody dropped him off or he met up with somebody down the street. I mean, it's not that much, but at least it's a start, and if they can narrow down another suspect, they might be able to catch the real Ghostface before he smokes anyone else.
So after running the dude's identity, they find out he's a murderer who escaped from the psych ward just a few weeks ago, but there's still no reason to explain why he would do this. Sid thinks that there's gotta be more to the story. They're just heading inside when Lucas and his mom come over to see what's up, but Sydney's already suspicious of the guy, so she gives him the old "I'm on to you" look and warns Jessica to keep an eye on him. Then Gail shows up like, who the hell is this dude? And Jessica realizes that they all think her kid was in on it. So they hustle out of there before he gets in any more trouble. And over coffee, Gail explains that she came there on a hunch after hearing about the attack in Woodsboro. Sydney still wants to play it safe and let the cops handle it, but Gail's over here insisting that they gotta take matters into their own hands. And that's when Sydney gets another freaking phone call from Stu, or at least somebody pretending to be him, and he starts smack-talking Sid and Gail for being a couple washed-up has-beens who lost their edge. Gail starts chirping back, but he hangs up before he can figure out much else, except that there is one way they might be able to get some new leads by checking out the hospital that Carl escaped from. So they decide to head there in the morning and see what's up. The next day, Sid's about to head out when Tatum starts asking to go with her, but she's all like, "Nah, kid, you ain't built for this stuff," which makes Tatum pretty upset, as you could imagine, and she storms out feeling mad that Sid won't teach her how to fight. But once she's gone, Sid realizes the kid is right, and she's worried that trying to keep Tatum safe only made her an easy target. They pull up at the hospital a little while later, and on the drive over, Sydney decides to call the coroner back in Woodsboro, which turns up something interesting. There's no official paperwork saying Stu's body was ever there, and the coroner at the time died a couple years ago. So, either somebody lost the paperwork, or somebody's trying to cover it up, or Stu is really alive. Somehow, still, but either way, it looks like they gotta figure it out. And inside, they meet up with the supervisor Marco, who takes them over to see Carl's old room, and it looks like just you'd expect with all those creepy drawings all over the wall, but there's still nothing to explain why he would have gone after Sydney. That's when Sid breaks out a screenshot of her old buddy Stu, and yeah, the guy recognizes him right away. He says that he was actually a patient who went by the name John Doe, since he got amnesia from being whacked on the head. And it turns out he just got released from the place a few weeks ago. But not only that, him and the dude Carl were pretty much best friends. So it's really starting to look like Stu might actually be the one behind all of this.
Let's just pump the brakes for a quick second here, because there's a lot about this dude's story that's not adding up. Like, first of all, when they first got here, Marco was acting like he's never seen these two in his life. But when Gail mentioned that Carl went after Sidney Prescott, he turned straight to Sid and said, "I'm glad you are all right." And that's weird, because Sydney never actually told this dude her name. Now, you might just say he recognizes her from TV, but if that's true, then they obviously would have recognized Gail too. So all I'm saying is, my boy here is a little fishy. But that's not even the weirdest part, because if what Marco is saying is true, then you're telling me somehow all the way back in the 90s, Stu got himself transferred to this random psychiatric hospital in the middle of nowhere, Indiana, which decades later just so happened to be the exact same town where Sid and her family decided to settle down. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, who wrote this shit? Like, I'm sorry, but there's literally no way that's even possible. So if you actually believe that, get back to watching Cocomelon, because you were literally born yesterday. But me, I already have a genius plan to figure this out. You see, Marco says they're gonna need a court order if they want any more info on John Doe, right? But don't forget, her husband Mark is literally the police chief, so he can literally request any paperwork they have on this dude, like when this guy was brought in, his physical condition, fingerprints, all that stuff. And that's gonna tell us one of two things. Either the story is actually true, and it's as crazy as it sounds and Stu's really the one behind all this, or the more likely answer is Marco is full of shit. But if we can figure that out, we're one step closer to finding Ghostface's true identity.
Meanwhile, back at the Heezy, Mindy catches that dude Lucas just staring at the house all suspiciously. Her twin's been over here checking the security footage, but even over the last 3 days, there is no sign of Ghostface sneaking inside, which can only mean he must have hacked the cameras. And that's when Tatum shows up and asks what these two are even doing there. So Mindy explains how she just wants to solve the case, you know, like before the big reveal, which leads to this whole discussion about how you catch a killer. They need a way to get all her friends together in one place, and it's gonna be a little complicated because there's a town curfew that starts at sundown. But Tatum's got an idea for where they can all meet up. Back with Sydney and Gail, Sid gets an update from the cops who say that they can trace Stu's location the next time he calls. But they don't just want to sit around and wait for it to happen, so Sid decides to finally give Gail a live interview, thinking that that might draw him out. And as for Mark, he's back home still working on the case when he hears someone banging around in the garage, which is weird because nobody's supposed to be out there, so he heads inside to check it out, where he finds a toolbox that fell over on the ground. The garage door's open, so maybe it was just the wind, right? But after closing it up, he decides to take another look around just to be sure. And as he reaches down to unplug the extension cord, Ghostface jumps out, tackles him to the ground, and starts stabbing him while he's trapped under a plastic sheet, making 6 down with 7 more to go.
Alright, now this was just embarrassing, I'm not gonna lie. Like at this point, Ghostface already caught these dummies lacking not once, not twice, but 3 times in the last 24. And like I said before, the guy's not exactly a criminal mastermind. So when you're 6 sequels in and getting outplayed by one of the dumbest killers out there, that's how you know you done f***ed up. Now first, we got my girl Sydney here, and as much as I hate to say it, she's moving like a damn NPC, okay? I mean, imagine being fully aware that there's multiple Ghostfaces after you, and less than one day after almost getting smoked, you just decide to split up for absolutely no reason. Like genuinely, what was she thinking? If she wanted to check out the hospital, she could have just sent Gail and the interns over there instead, right? And then the fam could have actually stuck together, you know, like smart people. But nah, she decides to take off on some random ass side quest while Tatum just has to fend for herself. Great strategy, you guys. What could possibly go wrong? But as far as my guy Mark, brother, what are you even doing? Like the fact that he wasn't sure if it was Tatum in the garage was already bad enough, because how are you gonna have multiple killers after you and not know where your daughter is at all times? This is the police chief, mind you. But also, how the f did Ghostface sneak up to their damn house this late in the game? Like, actually, are you kidding me? You're telling me that after one psychotic killer jumped out of the attic literally last night, another one was able to just waltz right in like he owns the place and nobody saw him or anything? That's absolutely crazy. And yet, here we are. Well, maybe next time we don't go investigate the weird noises without any backup. You know, just a thought. But now it looks like Ghostface just evened the score. So congratulations, Evans family, because y'all done f***ed up.
That night, Tatum tells everyone to meet at a bar owned by her friend Chloe's parents, and they all start throwing out ideas for who the killer might be. Lucas says there's no way it could actually be Stu Macher, which is when Mindy chimes in with her whole elaborate theory. And to her, it seems like whoever's doing this wants to bring Sydney back into the game. Ben starts looking at the screenshots of Stu, and they're honestly too good to tell if they're fake. But as Chad points out, even if it really is Stu, there's still somebody out there helping him, and that person just might be in this room. Mindy starts going from one person to another, pointing out all the reasons why they might be a suspect. But right now, it's still too hard to tell. So all they can do is wait for somebody to slip up. But while the kids are playing Among Us IRL, Sydney and Gail head to the local TV station for their interview, and after seeing it on her phone, Tatum has her friends put it on at the bar. It starts out with them basically trying to rage bait Stu into calling, and it's not working yet. And as the questions keep going, Gail starts getting a lot more personal than Sydney expected, until Sid eventually gets fed up and storms off the set. That makes things a little awkward back at the bar, and Tatum decides that she wants to go be with her mom, but as soon as the cameras stop rolling, Sydney finally gets the call. And it's Stu, alright, and he knows that they're just trying to get his location, but he beats them to it and says that he's at the tavern getting ready to go after Tatum. So Gail starts telling the other dudes to call the cops, but by the time she turns around, Sydney has already dipped. In fact, she's already on her way to the car, but Gail has the keys. So she starts booking it on foot over to the restaurant. Meanwhile, at the tavern, Tatum and Ben are just about to leave when she notices something weird on his computer. It's a green screen video of Ben turning himself into Stu Macher. He starts trying to explain himself like, I was just testing out the AI software, bleh, but the paranoia finally gets to her, and she ends up knocking him out with his own laptop. Only just as Tatum's running back inside, the real Ghostface actually shows up, and her only choice is to turn around and run for her life.
Alright, now hold your horses there, Forrest Gump. I know people make weird choices under pressure, but this is honestly getting comical. I mean, for one, sitting down for a live TV interview while there's a killer trying to smoke your whole family is genuinely insane. Like, I don't know if that's aura, or these people just have no common sense. But sure, let's get on the news and tell anyone who might be watching that Tatum's all by herself. I mean, you gotta be dumber than a bag of rocks here. And I'm starting to think that might actually be the case, because when offered the choice between A, waiting 2 seconds for Gail to unlock the car, or B, sprinting halfway across town, we got Sid over here hitting the like she's training for the damn NFL. I mean, I respect the hustle, but girl, on what planet in this entire universe would running several miles be faster than taking a damn car? I mean, use your brain for 1 second, please. Plus, it's never a bad idea to bring an extra meat shield, so needless to say, I would just wait for Gail, hop in the whip, speed over there, save Tatum, and we're good. No sweat. But if we're jogging everywhere, it's gonna be a long night. Which brings me to Tatum, and once again, she's over here making the same mistakes as her mom, but I can already see an easy way out of this. Whether Ben's in it or not, his car still works, right? So as soon as I saw Ghostface mogging me from the sidewalk, I'm turning around while Ben's still knocked out, pulling him out of the car, and speeding straight towards the police station. It's that simple. And sure, Ben may or may not end up getting smoked, but if Tatum wants to be like her mom, she's gonna be losing a lot of boyfriends, so might as well start getting used to it now.
Back inside, Chloe heads back to the kitchen while Lucas wanders off to use the restroom. How convenient, but it makes Chad and Mindy realize that they should probably check on Tatum. There's just one problem though, the door is locked, and back in the kitchen, Chloe starts hearing a bunch of sketchy noises coming from somewhere in the shadows. Just then, the lights go out, and she turns around to see Ghostface posted on the other side of the room, and he keeps cutting her off whenever she tries to run. But then he just disappears, so Chloe grabs a meat mallet and waits until it looks safe and then makes a run for the door, only for him to pop out right as she gets there and starts piecing her up. She tries fighting him off with the mallet, then switches to a metal tray when he knocks it out of her hands. But he hits her with a 360 table slam and knocks her to the ground, and that's when Chloe notices a knife on the floor, so she crawls over to it and spins around just as Ghostface tries to grab her. But wait a minute, that's not Ghostface, it's Chad, and Chloe just stabbed him right in the shoulder. Ouchies! Ghostface shows up, pulls the knife out of Chad, and throws him to the ground, only for Minnie to come rushing over and rock him with the meat mallet, but he slashes her stomach, leaving them both injured, then turns around and starts going after Chloe. But she dips right back out of the bar where she crashes into Lucas, and Chloe tries warning him about Ghostface, but bro just says, "I got this," and decides that he's going in. So Chloe stands there for about 10 seconds waiting for him to come back when suddenly he comes crashing back through the door and lands right on top of her. It looks like he lost the 1v1, but there's nothing Chloe can do to stop him, so she grabs the keys and gets ready to run for the door, but then Ghostface shows up again, forcing her to take cover behind the bar. She starts crawling for the other door as quietly as she can until finally loses track of her and decides to leave, or at least that's what she thinks. And when it looks like he's gone, Ghostface jumps up from his hiding spot, slams Chloe down on the bar, and slides her straight into a big pile of empty glasses, causing a huge piece of broken glass to get stuck right in her neck. And that's when Ghostface realizes that Lucas is still alive, but the dude is too injured to get away. So Ghostface just says, "You know what, I'm gonna have some fun with this one," and then drags him back over to the bar, lifts him up, and shoves his head straight down on a pointy beer tap, until a bunch of blood and beer starts spewing out of his mouth, making 8 down with 5 more to go.
Well, on the bright side, at least this dude finally beat the killer allegations. But getting absolutely wrecked in a 4v1 when you have 2 Ghostface vets on the squad, it's really just a skill issue if I'm being honest. Like, first off, what's the point of getting all the suspects together in one place if you're just gonna let them wander off for a costume change whenever they feel like it? I mean, that's just stupid. Every single one of them should have been sharing their locations and using the buddy system at all times, even if it turned out that they were all completely innocent. Now, as soon as I realized the doors were locked, the first thing I'm doing is pulling the fire alarm and yelling, "Ghostface attack," because that's gonna accomplish a few different things, right? Not only am I warning everyone else, but the alarm should draw attention outside. Then I would just pick up a chair, smash the glass, and poof, I'm gone. As for Chloe, the meat mallet was actually a pretty good weapon, but we can do better. Like 99% of the time, Ghostface is using his classic buck knife, right? So with the meat mallet as my primary, I would either pick up a frying pan or a fry basket for my offhand that I could use for parries and blocks, or switch to gears for the fire extinguisher instead, using foam to blind him and the tank to beat him down, right? But one-on-one, Chloe actually put up a pretty good fight, so if these dummies just worked together instead of attacking him one at a time, they definitely could have handled this dude no problem.
Somewhere in town, Tatum is still running for her life with the other Ghostface steadily closing in. She makes it to a shop that's all locked up, but she grabs the welcome sign and blasts Ghostface just as he comes around the corner, giving her another chance to escape. With the whole town on curfew, there's no one around to hear her screaming for help, but it doesn't take long before Ghostface is back on his feet. So she ducks behind a flower stall and starts waiting for him to pass. But just when it looks like she lost him, somebody jumps around the corner and grabs her. But the good news is it's just Ben. Phew, close one. That's when Ghostface just appears out of nowhere and starts brutally stabbing him to death right in front of her, oh no! Tatum eventually runs over and shoves Ghostface straight through a store window. But Ben is already toast, making 9 down with 4 more to go, and her only choice is to run for it as Ghostface starts getting back up. She does make it all the way to her mom's coffee shop, and punching in the code immediately gets down so he can't see her. Ghostface gets there a few seconds later and starts pulling on the door, but just when he's about to give up, Sydney tries calling Tatum at the worst possible time. Tatum ducks the call and sends a text saying Ghostface is after her, so Sid messages back saying that there's a blicky in the office. Okay. But as Tatum gets up to run for it, she hears Ghostface tapping on the glass, and this dude just punches the code and lets himself in. She makes it to the office just in time and starts pushing a bunch of heavy stuff in front of the door, and then goes straight for the safe and grabs the blammer. Sydney's watching the whole thing remotely on the cameras and starts telling Tatum how to use the strap, but then Tatum starts getting cold feet and acting like she can't take the shot. But she finally decides to lock the in after remembering what Ghostface just did to her boyfriend, so while Sydney's giving her callouts through the cams, she aims straight at the wall and lets it loose. Bladow, firing a bunch of shots straight through Ghostface's chest. Now all she's got to do is go out there and confirm the kill, but then suddenly Ghostface jumps up, grabs the blicky, and throws her straight against the wall. Tatum grabs a fire extinguisher and clobbers him in the face, but he trips her as she tries to run. And she keeps fighting to get away until she finally knocks him down with a chair, but just when she's about to run for it, another Ghostface appears and cuts her off. And they both rush in and grab her before she can escape. Now when Sydney finally gets there, it's already too late. There's no sign of Tatum, but that's when Ghostface calls, saying that he's already at Sid's house. And he warns Sydney to come alone if she ever wants to see Tatum again.
Damn, okay, well, I guess Sid forgot to mention the most important rule. There's always another Ghostface. Now, I don't know if these two just hate technology or what, but tell me why this whole time neither one of them just pulled out their damn phone and called the cops. I mean, that's literally the first thing I would have done. Instead, we got Tatum over here yelling at the clouds when she had a fully charged iPhone right in her damn pocket, and Sid trying to run a 5K like she's trying to get in shape for the summer. But since the cops were already expecting another Ghostface attack, all they had to do was call, and they would have been there in like 2 seconds. Like, that's bad enough, right? But for somebody who was talking such a big game, Tatum sure fumbled every chance she had just to take this guy out. She hit him with a sign, pushed him through a window. I mean, she literally had this guy on the ropes multiple different times before he actually caught her. But instead of just stomping him out, she kept letting him get up. But by far the dumbest decision was opening that door after she blasted him through the wall, because all Tatum had to do was just sit there and wait for help, and she would have been fine. So I guess we can all blame Sid for setting her up on that one. But if these two actually used their brains at any point during this chase, we wouldn't even be in this situation right now.
Now, Sydney does get back to the crib where she finds the front door sitting wide open, and inside she's greeted with this strange message from Stu that starts playing over every screen in the house. It's a weird AI compilation of all the past Ghostfaces talking smack, but as it comes to an end, Stu tells her to look out the back window, and that's where she finds Tatum tied to a chair with Ghostface standing right behind her. With no other choice, Sydney puts down the gun and kicks it away as the killer takes off his mask. And strangely enough, it's that dude Marco from back at the hospital. But why? Well, that's when Ghostface number thrice enters the backyard, and after dragging Mark out of the garage, who it turns out he's still alive, she takes off her mask, revealing she's actually that lady Jessica from next door. Now, you're probably wondering what her motivation is. Well, it turns out she was in a bad relationship with her husband until she read Sydney's self-help book and just decided to smoke the guy. But then Sydney fell off the map and tried to disappear, which made Miss Crazy Pants here officially lose it. So she checked herself into a psychiatric hospital knowing it would be close to Sydney's house, where she met Marco and Carl and hatched this whole plan. You see, she realized Sydney's past her prime, so Jessica wants to kill her and make Tatum watch as a way to keep the cycle going, but this whole time she's been monologuing, Mark was secretly cutting the straps around Tatum's ankles. Then suddenly Tatum headbutts Jessica in the face as Sydney whips out another blicky and puts one straight through Marco's dome, making 9 down with 4 more to go. Jessica escapes into the garage as 2 of them run to check on Mark, but Sydney's not about to just let her get away, so she tells Tatum to stay put and heads in there to chase her down. There's no sign of Jessica at first, but Sid can hear her calling out from somewhere in the shadows, and that's when she hears "Look Out For Me" by Turnstile blasting on the boombox. But as she turns around after shutting it off, Jessica suddenly jumps out and tackles her straight through the wall.
Holy it's a Turnstile jump scare. Now, Jessica might have thought that throwing on this absolute bop from their 2025 Grammy Award-winning album, Never Enough, was gonna scare Sydney, but honestly, that was a huge gamble. See, for all she knows, Sydney could be a big fan of the old Turnstile Love Connection, and if you know anything about Turnstile or their fans, they go hard as This song could have had Sydney pumped up like she was in the pit at the Primavera Sound. So if she really wanted to get Sydney off guard, Jessica could have put on something like soft, like Morgan Wallen or whatever, and then that might have mellowed her out. But instead, she put on the perfect jam to get Sydney riled up and ready to end it. Not too smart. But you know what else wasn't smart? Leaving Tatum alone again after she literally just got done saving her life. I mean, I get why she didn't want Jessica to get away, but it's not like she's much of a threat right now anyway, right? Like, they've seen her face, and her whole squad just got wiped out. So at this point, we can basically just let the cops take it from here. And that's why, if it was me, I'd be staying with my damn family instead of 1v1ing my psycho neighbor. But I guess Sid's about to show this chick what crazy really looks like.
Sydney and Jessica start battling to the death with pretty much anything they can find. Jessica hits her with a knee to the face, but Sid grabs a brick and clobbers her straight in the dome, and then takes a screwdriver and jams it straight into her leg. Jessica fights her off and starts choking her with an extension cord, so Sid grabs the screwdriver and keeps stabbing her over and over again. But this sicko actually pulls it out and starts charging straight at her, only for Tatum to show up and fire a bunch of shots right into her chest. So it looks like it's over, right? But nah, because when they look back again, Jessica is already gone. Until suddenly she jumps out and starts running straight at them, but they just start unloading on her until they literally shoot her damn face off, and that makes 10 down with no more to go. After it's all over, Gail gives Sid a big hug and offers to take them to the hospital, but first it's time for Sydney to finally open up. So she goes over to her daughter and starts telling her why she named her Tatum, because she wanted her to grow up strong and fearless, just like her best friend. The two of them hug it out and say their I love yous, and with Ghostface defeated, it's off to the hospital to check on Mark. And it looks like Sydney and Tatum can finally live in peace, at least until the next Ghostface shows up. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Remember to go check out the MSF 8th anniversary event.
Use promo code MSF8 to unlock Deadpool, Gwenpool, She-Hulk, and Squirrel Girl for free, plus 1 million in gold and 300 L3 training modules.
You can download the game via the link below. Scream 7. Is Stu Macher still alive? I have so many questions after the end of this one, and they're going to have to make an entirely new movie, Scream 8, just so I can finally get some closure on some of these ideas. But if you guys would have done anything differently in today's episode, you need to let me know what that is down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Leave a like and subscribe. Check out that How to Beat playlist for more videos just like this one. I'm Ben. We'll see you in the next video, and have a damn good day.